So, sponsorship in motorsports, to begin with. These days, very difficult, because everybody who is into motorsports knows that there is no money being made in motorsports. You can only become a millionaire if you started off as a billionaire. It's a saying which is really true. So in order for drivers to get into motorsports or to start racing, it really is a hard time these days. Especially because businesses have way better ways to spend money. In the past, at least in Europe, how businesses did motorsport sponsorships. They simply got rid of their tax money. So every time a company would make profit, they should pay whatever income tax or profit tax. And instead of paying the profit tax, they would simply start sponsoring a car in motorsports, a driver in motorsports, whatever, because you can take it off your taxes. These days, I think big companies specifically, they're a little bit more cautious with their cash flow. For young drivers to get sponsorship from medium-sized or big companies is a tricky thing to do these days. Also because everybody wants to become a racing driver and everybody needs the money to do it. That's another thing, it became more expensive as well. Like 20 years ago in Belgium, there was this young kid and he started to get into motorsports as well. And he said, Ray, how the hell do I get sponsorship in motorsports? And I said, well, the best thing you can do, and this is what I did at some point as well, is just go driving, suck it up, and then prove that you can do something. Then go to small businesses locally to your area and simply say, hey, I'm this guy, I'm into motorsports, this is what I did. Your name can be on my car. I can do customer events. I can do this for you. I can do that for you. And he's like, yeah, that's a very good idea. Now, he was actually pretty smart, like in school and everything. I went to school with him. He was pretty smart. And at some point, months and months into racing, he got some small sponsorships, but nothing really that paid for the whole thing. And he's like, man, this is way more difficult than I thought to get sponsorship. And it's so expensive to race. I don't think this hobby is anything for me. Now, although he was talented, he really was good because he did some amateur championship in Belgium and he won that actually 2 years in a row. And even with that, it was really difficult for him to find sponsorship because amateur racing is cool, all and well, but nobody is interested in having his name on an amateur racing car. Imagine doing, let's say, Champ Car, Lucky Dog. I mean, Costco is not going to be standing there waiting to spend their millions on a Champ Car. But then he got an idea. And you need to think, this is like 20 years ago. Yeah? This is not today where the internet is like easy and everything is easy accessible. In our local small city in Belgium, we had like a small grocery store, like a privately owned grocery store still at the time. His parents were actually very good friends with the owners of that grocery store. So Belgium is known for chocolate. Like Belgian chocolate is a thing apparently. And in our city there was also a small chocolate factory. They were struggling because bigger chocolate factories existed and competition was hard at the time. This was, I think, in 2007 or 2008, where I think there was also in the US a depression at the time. And so they were struggling to keep business, actually, especially the smaller ones. So he got this idea. He went to his friend that was the owner of this grocery store. And he says, hey, you know what? I'm looking for sponsorship for my racing. Now, the grocery store owner says, well, we don't have that type of budget to simply throw out because it's hard times for everybody, right? He says, no, I don't need money. I just need like 3 or 5 square foot in your supermarket. That's all I need. I need space. I don't want money. I just need space and I want to sell a product here, like my branded product. So the store owner goes like, well, that's fine. You can do that. Whatever you want to sell here, I'll give you some room to do it. If that will help your motorsports career, go nuts. So then he went to the chocolate factory who was in a little bit of trouble. And he said, hey, I'm looking for sponsorships for my racing career. And also there, the chocolate factory said, hey, we don't have cash laying around. We're having hard times. There is not much we can help you with. And he says, well, I'm going to help you actually. I have a couple of meters of space in a store. Now that store, although it was privately owned, it was actually like a franchise of a very big chain of stores in Belgium. So he got space in a store where that little chocolate factory never had the opportunity to get into. So he put the chocolate there and they made the wrapping paper with him on it, like with his race car and everything, which was obviously a very cheap thing to do for the chocolate factory. And he simply got 10% cut of all the chocolate sold. Because it was displayed near the registers, everybody started to buy the chocolate. The store owner was happy, the chocolate guy was happy, and now the big brand of these grocery stores picked up on that as well because the sales were quite good. So in less than half a year's time, he managed to get that little chocolate factory. The demand went up with like 500%. And that's how he ended up affording for his racing series So he didn't ask a single or multiple companies to donate him money. He just sold their product for them in a very smart way. He's still racing today with them as a sponsor. It's now the second biggest chocolate factory in Belgium. So IMSA, I actually know a friend of mine, he's racing in IMSA at the moment. The budget is relatively similar. Racing at that level is really similar because it's not really racing drivers who come up with the money anymore. It's brand deals that they do. Usually it's supported by the manufacturer of the car even these days. I don't think there is a single team in IMSA today that gets no funding from the car manufacturer themselves, or at least support or anything. That's very similar in Europe. The only difference between, let's say, endurance racing at a high level like IMSA in the US and let's call it, for example, the Le Mans series in Europe, is that it's much more difficult, I think, to get into IMSA at a highest level. That's going to be the bigger issue in the US. The money you're going to spend towards it, or let's say the money you need to bring as a driver to get into that level of racing is going to be way more expensive in America than in Europe. A good friend of me here in the States, actually, he made his life very well with close to no budget in worldwide racing, actually. His name is Gino. He's from Jacksonville, Florida. He's a car sales guy. He sells cars. No Lambos. He sells BMWs. As you probably can know, a car sales guy at BMW will never have the budget to get into racing. At least not at a high level, right? He talked himself into racing. He's a car salesman. He used his car salesman things to actually go racing. So when I met him, for example, this was in 2018 or 19, he came in my office at Ring Freaks and he says, "Hey Ray, I want to race on the Nürburgring. I am a guy from Florida," and that's it. I'm like, man, not one of those. Florida, man. Want to race on the Nürburgring. I get this weekly. Weekly I get emails from people who want to go racing. I told him, yeah, it's not going to be so easy because first of all, racing licenses is another thing. It's not because you have all the NASA license that you can go racing in Europe. That's not how it works. So you first need to obtain the correct license, which he managed to do. And then we invited him over. I said, sure, you can come and race here at the Nürburgring on a very amateur level, which is called RCN. And he did so, and he impressed me, actually. He was really good, but he had a lot of seat time here in the US. And he's also one of the guys who drives with Chase Zilla on all their events. So seat time is really important. That's the biggest hack of all, seat time. Even if you don't have the money to go racing, man, do track days, do HPDs, sit in the car as much as you can, because you'll meet so many people. But anyway, Gino, he actually managed to get real racing on the Nürburgring done through us in the beginning. So we did a few of these amateur races with him. And then when we stopped doing racing, actually, we got him into another car where he's still racing with, doing fantastic. He just did the 24-hour race this year. Now he's on his way to doing Bathurst as well. He's into racing here in America. He's doing WRL. He won the championship, I think, with a Miata, with AOA Racing. So he's doing fairly well for himself, and that with like little to no budgets, but he's simply good, and that's because of his seat time. That's the biggest hack of all, seat time.
This month of VINwiki content is brought to you by Premier Financial Services, and they are the perfect partner in your journey to own your dream car because their Simple Lease is the most powerful tool in the world of exotic car financing. You'll get all the benefits of a leasing structure like lower payments and better tax treatment, along with everything we love about a normal exotic car loan where you can trade in and out at any time, always know where you stand thanks to their amortization table, and accumulate equity for whenever you're finished and ready for the next car. And Premier is great because they're wholly owned and backed by First Financial Bank, which means they have more buying power than any other exotic car bank or collector car bank in the United States, and their customer service is unmatched. Also, rates are lower than they have been in a very, very long time, so it's never been a better time to reach out to Premier, talk to their representatives, learn what you can pre-qualify for, and let them help you own the car of your dreams with Premier Financial Services.